Hello and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. With me today is Lee and Dan. Ty might show up. We don't know. I think he's a little busy right now. Sam is actually off this week. I think he's going on vacation. So it is the 5th of July. Happy 250th America. Congratulations, you made it. We just had the All-Star rosters announced, and before we get into that, let's talk about the stats and standing. Not that they have changed all that much. But the standings, the Chicago White Sox are first in the division again. They are one game ahead of the Guardians. The Twins, 4 back. The Tigers, 7.5 back. And the Royals continue to sink and 11.5 back. The Tigers playing much better, 6-4 in their last 10, but I think they've been much better in the last, 2 or 3 weeks. So maybe they're making some noise. Maybe it's still too late to matter. But we'll see.
I'll get into it later. They've won 10 out of their last 15. Best record in the AL since June 1st.
You just wish it was 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's happening. It's better to have good baseball than crappy baseball because you've seen a lot of crappy baseball this year. So take it while you can. All right, for hitting, the Minnesota Twins are still leading the division, or still leading the American League in runs by 20. It's a healthy amount. The White Sox are second in the American League at 428. Then we go to the Tigers at 9, the Royals at 11, and then the Guardians at 13. For pitching, basically reverse it. The Tigers, however, are fourth in the American League. The Guardians 6th, White Sox 9th, Twins 13th, and the Royals are 14th. I don't want to say the Royals' downfall should more, but man, they just have. This season has just been a clunker. They can't seem to do anything right. But it's another weekend. We're going to talk about the All-Star game in a second, but how was you guys this week?
I can go first. So, just in general, kind of to update everybody, we'll talk about the White Sox Guardian series moving here in a little bit, which had some drama, was another good series between two teams atop the division. But in general, since what I've coined as Bloody Saturday, a couple weeks ago on Saturday against Detroit, Angel Martinez, Jose Ramirez, and Chase DeLauder all got injured in the same game. The Guardians
not to interrupt you, but I love Lee's reaction every time you say that's Bloody Saturday. She just looks like, brother, let me tell you something about injuries. But yeah, I get it. It was.
With all due respect to the Tigers, who have had a number of injuries, I don't think they lost 3 players in the course of an hour. So
that's fair. We did lose 2 players in the course of an hour once, and we've lost 3 players every week for a month.
And also, it was the 2 better players for Cleveland too. It was Jose Ramirez, who was the heart and soul, and then Angel Martinez, who was leading the team in slugging at the time.
And then Chase DeLauder, who's leading the team in WRC plus. So yeah. These were very impactful. Not to say they're more impactful than say Tarek Skubal. We could quibble over the term if we want. The point is, it wasn't a good Saturday. 3 guys got hurt. And since that Saturday, the Guardians are 8-11. That's a half a notch worse than I were hoping they'd be. I hope they'd be just under 500, just around 500. To stem the tide during this period that they're going to have to muddle their way through. They've gotten pretty close to doing that, but haven't quite been what I would hope. You know what? It hasn't hurt them all that much in the division standings. They're 1 game out. To spoil the series review later, they did split with Chicago over the course of this weekend. I'm still very bullish about Chicago and think that's a good team, or at least a very good hitting team. So I have no quibble with them splitting at home against a team that I think is a worthy opponent at this point, having 2 of those 3 still injured. Chase DeLauder has come back over the course of the last week. He's been knocking the cover off the ball, by the way, since he came back. He homered today, hitting over 300. And so I think the rest probably helped him, even though I still don't think he's 100% entirely. But I'm happy to be 1 game out. Martinez and Ramirez hopefully will be back after the All-Star break. Jose Ramirez swung off a tee in the last couple days, and so things are trending the right direction there. And I am still of the mind that you get those players back, perhaps you make a trade at the trade deadline for an outfielder, and we could still be in business, not just for a division title, but perhaps more. So I think that's a little ambitious, but I don't think it's outside of the bounds of reality. So they're doing okay getting through this time period, and we'll worry about what comes after that when that time comes.
Right. And I think if I was Chicago, I would be a little disappointed that I only have a 1 game lead because it looked like if there was an opportunity for Cleveland to collapse, and we know Cleveland doesn't collapse, they haven't done it, blah 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 blah, but they lost the heart and soul of the team, a very promising rookie, and then their center fielder. That's or not? Is he playing center? I can't remember.
He's playing left mostly this year, but
Okay.
yeah.
That's right. I still have to like calibrate that Quan is in center and not left these years. It was very possible that we really saw Cleveland struggle, and like not for nothing, their offense is like second worst in the American League. I think they have a 680 OPS, which I think is literally the worst in the American League, but I can look at that filter later. However, their cumulative ERA is like fourth in the AL. That's what they do every year. So like I understand they lost Jose Ramirez, but they already had an underwhelming offense with him.
To the
It's
to the
possible it can absolutely get worse, but
to the point about the White Sox side of things, I have two thoughts. One is they were a couple of, they could have swept this 4 game series. And again, we'll
yeah,
talk more about the series later, but they were a couple of bullpen blowups away from taking 4 in Cleveland. And I think that's painful for them that they ended up getting a split here when they could have gotten more legitimately. And then beyond that, you're right. I think this was their opportunity to maybe make some space in the division, and they haven't been able to capitalize. Alternatively, if you're Chicago, maybe you're just happy you're in first place right now because that was
yeah,
not the plan coming into
right.
this year.
You can overachieve, but also just be like, man, this. I also kind of like. I do think it's kind of funny because I felt this pressure when the Twins were competitive and Cleveland was always there, and then last year Lee felt it that Cleveland wasn't always there until like they were just like sprinting past them in September. But this is just what they do, and I kind of like that Chicago gets to deal with that frustration with them of like why if we win they win, if they lose we lose, like why is it that Cleveland just mirrors what their opponent is like whoever they're competing with the division with? It's like the most infuriating freaking thing. And then we can talk about how many times they come back from like a 1 or 2 run deficit in the 8th or the ninth. It's just I've seen this book too many times, but I'm glad it's not just the Twins.
It's like the first time. It's like
Yes, they get to see like also like oh we can beat the Guardians. They're not that. Oh wait, what is this? Like what is this black
it's
magic that they're
a
doing?
bunch of bullshit happens, and there's all this little they score on errors and choppers and bloop
Well,
singles.
that's also it too. I think I said it maybe more last year, but like Cleveland, if you're up by 3, you're feeling pretty good. If you're up by like 1, you're on edge every pitch as if you're basically down because like that's like Lee just said, it's a chopper, it's a bloop hit, it's like a hit by pitch, it's a pass ball, and then a sac fly just won the game for the Guardians. It's just and once in a while they'll hit like an actual walk-off home run, but they'll be like 10 balls in play, all of them hit under 80 miles an hour, and then somebody will rope a double, typically Jose, and then the game's just over. Like it's just infuriating how many times I've seen that.
Am I thinking too like I don't want to say this because I'm obviously representing the Guardians, but like is there something too like teams tighten up when they play Cleveland for that reason? Like oh we
I
can't
think
make a mistake. We like I think a school like the Scooble flip like that's like I got to make a play here. I got to make a play here because it's happening again. Like that kind of thing. Like that's the
I mean,
example that comes to mind.
I would
maybe
like say it's all right. I think it's less, maybe not in the way that you're thinking, but I think it's you're expecting it and you're ready for it. Not you're ready for it, but like you're just waiting for it to happen, and then it does happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the thing, like going back to the Tigers last year when they were falling apart, it's a little bit of it's happening again. Of course it is, but that was more about the Tigers
Yeah.
mentality at the time than it really was about the fact that they were facing the Guardians. It's more about the Tigers as a unit continuing to I don't know, breakdown or whatever the hell
Right.
they were doing. I don't think it's necessarily because they were facing the Guardians, but I think it's because they're facing the Guardians. It sounds counterintuitive, but I think it's less because of the type of team that the Guardians are, but more because it's the same shit that keeps happening against this one team. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I'll agree with that. But I think it's more the Guardians just believe they can come back from a one-run game. Like they just have a lot of confidence because it's happened over and over and over and over and over again. I do think like you get to the point where with Minnesota going into Cleveland is just like it seems weird that the Twins view Cleveland as this house of horrors, but like it just hasn't. It's been too many coin flips that have just come up the Guardians' way for you to think this can't be chance anymore. Like these are all close one-run games, and the Guardians always walk it off or they always squeak it out, and it's just like Dan, I don't think you understand the first like if the Twins are up by 1 and they're closing it out, it doesn't matter who's on the mound. As soon as the first Guardian gets on first base, you're just like, oh, mother F, it's going to happen. Like, it is such like an outsized reaction to just a single. Like,
yeah. And like for the Tigers, I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't think the issues against the Guardians is about the Guardians. I think it's about themselves because I think they've continued to have problems and then it keeps happening and then it compounds on themselves. But they obviously view the Guardians as a big threat or like competitors and that type of thing. Like after the wild card series last year, you got Kerry Carpenter in the locker room in the celebration, and in his most polite way, he said something along the lines of like, "Oh well, we're going on to the next round and you're not," which is like in Kerry Carpenter coming from him is basically him saying "Go fuck yourself" because he's because he's a very polite person. But like they obviously view the Guardians as, and I don't want to say worthy opponents, but like a boxing.
AJ, Detroit's manager this year mentioned that the division goes through Cleveland. So to your point, I bring that up and it comes off snarky and like I'm trying to big up the Guardians, and I am a little bit. But to that point, the Detroit manager said that. So the other thing, just to lend credence to what we're talking about, I saw a graphic this week. The Guardians are tied for the league lead in most games won this year by 1 or 2 runs. They're tied with St. Louis for that distinction. So just to lend credence to this, that this is a thing. They win a lot of close games.
I think the Tigers are dead last this year. So
yeah, well, they can barely hold a lead in the 7th. After the 7th is what I think that stat was. I think they have like the worst winning percentage after having a lead in the 7th or later or something like that. They're like 26-8, which is still a very good record, but those are obviously 8 winnable games that they've lost. Not that you're going to convert all of those.
I think they've lost 15 games that they were leading in the 7th inning or later.
Yeah.
It was just really bad.
Yeah.
I have to
almost like
that because the phrasing of it might have been different, but
flukish bad. Like is what it, but it doesn't make it feel any better. Oh, this isn't predictive. I don't care. They've lost 15 games. I had to watch those 15 and like watch my heart leave my body because this team can't do anything.
Kenley Jansen has come in with a lead and given up walk-off home runs 3 times.
Yeah.
They were 0-8 in extra inning games at one point this season.
Gosh.
They only just recently won their first game in extras this season. It's insane. Right. Yeah. The bullpen metrically hasn't been terrible. Like, by ERA, they're, like, mid. But, like, I feel like by win percentage average, they have to be dead last. Because, my God, just put in bad leverage positions, they just give up runs like party favors. It's insane.
Yeah. And then it doesn't help, like, Cleveland is it's a speed and defense team with a shutdown bullpen every year. And, like, Cleveland always does well in 1-1 games because of that. They just basically, they don't sacrifice the first, like, 6 innings, but it seems like after the 7th inning, it's almost like, okay, boys, it's time to hit the switch. Let's actually, let's knuckle down here. That was cute that they think they're winning, but here we go. Anyway. Enough about the Guardians. We're going to talk about them later in the show because, spoiler, they walked off the White Sox twice. So there's a reason we're talking about this. But the All-Star rosters were announced. We should probably talk about that because there are two Central players who are starting, and then I believe 6 more. So the American League, obviously, the starters, Bobby Witt Jr. and Byron Buxton is starting in the outfield. Obviously, Witt is starting for Kansas City. And then the reserves, Dylan Dingler, Travis Bazana with his first, Kevin McGonigal with his first, Miguel Vargas with his first, Riley Green with his second? Third, okay. And then for pitching, Parker Messick with his first, and then Joe Ryan. Michael Wacha goes back. And boy, do I look even more foolish every day from the offseason when I said Michael Wacha was like going to break down at any second. And then Cade Smith, and then Louis Varland. Oh, that trade looks just looks so bad right now. He is having an a worldly season. But anyway, he's not in the division anymore. Let's not talk about him. I do selfishly want to talk about the starters first. So Buxton was named for the second year in a row an All-Star. It's his third ever. But just as importantly, he's now starting the All-Star game. And I think I did a pretty good job last year of like, I don't want to say like crapping on Javier Baez starting the All-Star game and like it doesn't matter and you won't remember it, and flash forward a year, Buxton gets elected to or selected to start, and I'm going to be like, hey, this is a really nice thing for him, and I'm going to do that. So call me a hypocrite if you want. He's had a really nice season. Bobby Witt, I think, is just going to be the fixture. While he's in this division and especially while he's on the Royals, Bobby Witt is going to the All-Star game. He's just been phenomenal. He missed a couple of games, but still played 83 games, 4.5 Baseball Reference WAR, slashing 286, 358, 465. That's a 133 OPS plus, or if you want the actual number, an 823. Buxton has played 9 less games with that, which I can tell you that is such like Bobby Witt is a workhorse. He always plays 140, 150 games since he's came up. Buxton is on pace for like 140 games for the first time, I think, for the second time in his career, and he's in his 12th year. I think he's still third in the majors in home runs. He has 25. He only has 7 stolen bases. He was actually thrown out today and then removed from the game. So that kind of sucks. It's the first time he's been thrown out in over a year. And I know someone might think, hey, why does Byron Buxton only has 7 stolen bases? It's because the man doesn't walk and he rarely hits singles. So he has 82 total hits. 25 of them have been home runs. That should tell you something. But his slash line, 269, 326, 574 for a 900 OPS, a 145 OPS plus. I'm just really happy for him. Selfishly, I think that should have happened last year, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. 2 years from now, I will just remember he started an All-Star game, but I won't be able to remember the year he did it. So, I don't know. You guys have thoughts on the starters before we move off to the reserves?
It would surprise me that Bobby Witt, this is the first year he's a starter. So I'm like, really? Because last year was with Jacob Wilson, right? But I was like, yeah, I thought he was a starter like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Something.
This is where we also have to. He's been in the league 5 years. I mean, he's been around a minute, but he really hasn't been capital letters Bobby Witt, except for 2024 and 2025. Those are his two. Now it's his third year.
Who was the shortstop in 24?
I would.
While you're looking that up, I wanted to speak to Buxton too. It's similar. I'm happy for that guy. Like the fact that he's been healthy and he's been able to show what he can be capable of is incredible. You know, I was astounded by the fact that guy's on pace for 50 home runs this year.
Yep.
Byron Buxton playing center field most days and having that kind of power. I appreciate that. That's all I can say. He's been great, and I'm glad he's been named a starter because he deserves it.
Gunnar Henderson. Yep.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
He was the reigning rookie of the year, and makes sense. So
I mean, it'll be something to watch. I kind of suspect I think starting the All Star game is going to mean a lot to Byron. He's been dealing with a hip thing for like really for the last like 3 years, but he hasn't been injured enough to really go on the IL. And also, I think Byron really, 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 really pitches not to go on the IL. Like he really, really hates it. And it hasn't really affected his performance. He was out the previous 5 games. There's only 9 games left until the All Star break. He was pulled today after stealing a base, which on one hand, he felt good enough to steal the base. They caught him with an offline throw that just happened to be towards first base, so he was able to whatever. He was still out though. He was thrown out. I kind of wonder. The Twins, I think, like should probably put him on the IL, but that would mean he doesn't start the All Star game. So I wonder if they're just going to play a man short.
Is there a chance that he like, from his perspective, he's missed so much time over the years? Is he just at a point in his career where he has the cachet where he can go to the organization and say, as long as I can tolerate the pain and as long as I'm playing at a high level, I'm just gonna play. Like
He's done. The last couple of years he's done that absolutely. Yeah. Like he will. That was the issue with him. He's always fought to stay off the IL because like he's had so many. Like we don't need to go into his injury history, but he really, really hates going on the IL to the point where 2023, where he was just a DH, he was coming in 3 hours before the guys, the rest of his team came in, and he was going through like physical therapy. He'd have ice on his knee. And there was multiple drainages, which just sounds great. And he did that for an entire season. And then at the end of the year, he said, like, yes, it was like somebody was stabbing my knee every time I walked on it. And I did everything I could just to play that game. Like, he will put himself through the ringer to not go on the IL for his betterment or not. Really, to his credit, though, it doesn't affect his performance much. It did in 2023 because his knee bothered him a lot. But yeah, he will fight through a lot. He has a high pain tolerance, which don't tell fans in Minnesota that because they think he's made of glass and he's just, milking the IL stint. Same bullshit that Ricky Henderson dealt with when he was playing.
I always like players when they like tough it out and grind it out. I mean, there's always a part of me that's like, stop being stupid, you're just hurting yourself. But it's also like, it's just cool.
Yes.
Like Miggy did this in 2014. He played on a broken foot basically the entire season. And he still had like 30 home runs and a 900 OPS or whatever bullshit. Like it's just really cool to see players like that.
Yeah.
Labor last year's another one for Detroit. Was playing with a bad growing for the whole second half, right?
The example that Gleeman and the Geek uses is like I agree with you. It is awesome, but like they also have to be productive while they do it. So the example Gleeman and the Geek always uses is Nick Punto in like 2005 or something like that was dealing with a hamstring injury the entire second half, and his slash line was like 091. He had like a 350 OPS, like just truly horrible. And he was a defensive reliant player playing third base. He hurt the team playing through that hamstring injury. So like don't do that. But Byron is typically very good when he's on the field. So I'm happy for him. I think this is like one of those boxes he needed to check, I think, for him to like look back on his career to be like, oh, I started an All-Star game. Check. Like that was a big one.
I feel like even for the All-Star game, if he goes, plays 2 innings, gets 1 at bat, and then it's like, all right, sub me out, nobody would be like, how dare you? No, everyone's going to be like, yeah, that's fine.
I wouldn't even be surprised if, like, again, there's only like 8 games, and I think if Byron was not, this was Byron Buxton, 7 years ago, let's just say, I think the team would put him on the IL and be like, you got plenty of opportunities to start an All-Star game. We're going to let you sit out, take a full 2 weeks off with the All-Star break, and congratulations, you were voted as a starter. But I think this means a lot to him. And I think the Twins, whether this is the smart decision or not, I would not be surprised if the Twins play a man down until the All-Star break. And then, like Lee, what you're saying, he will run out to whatever outfield position he's playing, and I don't even know if he'll get an at bat. Like, if he is actually hurt. But we'll see. So let's talk about the other reserves, because it's not just Bobby Witt and Byron Buxton. There are multiple first-time All-Stars, including 2 rookies, Bazana and McGonigal, and then Vargas, who is having a breakout year. Riley Green's been here before, and then Dylan Dingler with his second.
First.
Yes. Is it his first? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he got in there last year. Okay.
No, he was not. He was arguably maybe snubbed, but it wasn't a big deal because it was whatever.
So
It wasn't that big of a deal because the other, I forget who it was the reserve that year, but like it was a fine choice.
Well, it was like Cal Raleigh, and then someone else was doing very well.
I think it might have been Kirk who was doing really well, and he was
possibly.
the reserve.
So why don't we just go down the line? Right now, I'm showing the baseball reference page for all of the reserves. Let's just go in the order of the screen. So, Dan, talk about why Travis Bazana is the best rookie in the American League.
The amount he's done in a short period of time is impressive. We could start there. He's had an incredible eye at the plate. OBP of 341 over the course of his stint in the majors so far this year. Already accumulated over 1 win above replacement, and has really been a spark plug mostly at the top of the order for the Guardians since his ascent to the majors earlier this year. I think this is a bit of I think this meant a lot to Bazana beyond the fact of just like making the All-Star game in the first place, but the acknowledgement from his peers. The players have a hand in kind of the reserve voting, and to get this vote of confidence from his peers this early in his career, when he's only played for so long, and there's other options that could have been out there, guys that have played the full season. I think it's a vote of confidence for what he is right now and kind of what he could become in the future. And so, on the other hand of things, I also think kind of the second base pool in the American League isn't that deep, quite frankly.
I think that's maybe a better example.
That's totally true. But, all that being said, they still chose him. And that's partially off of what he's doing right now. But I also think it's a matter of a lot of people recognizing, like, hey, this kid could be really good someday. And we're going to get out in front of that.
I'll speak for Miguel. I mean, we can all speak for Miguel Vargas. He looks really impressive. Like, this dude went from nobody to like maybe one of the top, I don't know, 3 hitters in this division right now, because he just looks scary. And maybe top 3 might be a little bit of a stretch, but like, I just watched him play the Guardians. And I think the Guardians just gave up trying to get him out. Like, it was so clear they were trying to like pitch around him by the end of like the last couple of games. He just lines doubles and home runs this year. It's just really impressive. And I've also seen him play. I've seen him play a couple of times in the field. I don't know if I'm just catching highlight plays. He's looked very good. Like, this is a true breakout that is really looking like, who was it, Kopech that they got for the Dodgers? I think the Dodgers won the World Series, so like you can, whoever they got for him, boy, this is really looking good for Chicago. This trade, I think he has a couple more years of team control. Very impressive.
I'm with you, and to your point about kind of the Guardians and handling him, I don't like the Tigers, but I've talked to him a lot about Kerry Carpenter and how dangerous that guy is in a lineup and how he scares the crap out of me late in games. And I'm starting to feel the same way about Miguel Vargas from the other side of the plate. He was very good in this past series. And 20 home runs, 135 OPS plus, hitting at the top of their order, and hits the ball hard a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to be a problem for a long time, I'm afraid. And good for Chicago. We've talked a ton about like Colson Montgomery and Well, mostly Colson, but in Kyle Teal and all these other guys, Vargas is quietly the most productive out of that
Yeah.
group, and he's another guy that's earned it.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
I think that's it for the reserves, right? That's it. Nobody else. Okay, sorry, Lee.
Why
I
do
don't
you
know
like
why.
picking on me so
I don't know
much?
why I always feel like I need to pick on you. I should really stop that. But anyway, go
You're such a
ahead.
bully. All
Riley
right,
Green.
Riley Green. He's just been great. Last year there was a lot of talk about the strikeouts and then he's not staying on base. He has completely changed that narrative. I think he's still striking out a lot. He's walking a lot more. He's getting on base a ton. He has 4 homers in the last week. He has 1 day off the entire season, which is huge for him because he's struggled with injuries in the past. So he's been staying on the field. Um, yeah, he's just a really good hitter. Today, he was a double away from the cycle, and then the Rangers intentionally walked him in the ninth. I'm not bitter about that or anything.
That's
Yeah.
crap. If there's ever an unwritten rule, like, you got to let him go for it.
There was a runner on third with 2 outs, so I kind of get it. But also, come on, man, you're already down by 3.
It's a sportsmanship. Make it happen.
Yeah, so. But yeah, he's just been really good to watch. He's got a fun uppercut swing, and he absolutely smashes baseballs into the stands. Yeah, I mean, look at that. He's got a 375 on base. That's compared to what he got last year. A really good improvement. And he's only 25. He's just continuing to prove every year. And
it's not even the 375 on base. He's hitting 287, and I think last year he was like low 200s, 230, something like that.
240 or something like that.
And this was the talking point you had going into the offseason, is he said he was going to like basically not swing for a home run every time. And I guess my worry was, well, he still had like an 800 OPS last year. The strikeouts were dangerously high, but my thought was like, I don't know if we want to mess with this. Clearly he should have, because he's hitting 287 with a 357 on base and a 491 slug. So 491 still plays pretty well if you're trying to cut down power, if you're going to definitely put the ball in play, 29% of the time.
Yeah, and his OPS is higher than it was last year because he's hitting a lot more doubles. And his bat the power is heating up. He had 0 home runs in the month of May because I guess the entire team just died in May, apparently. But like I said, he has 4 homers in the last week now. He had 2 against Cam Schlittler. He had 1 yesterday, 1 today. He's now a 3-time All-Star. He is the first Tigers outfielder to go to the All-Star game 3 years in a row since Mr. Tiger himself, Al Kaline. Yeah.
That's a minute ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. This is kind of for all 3 of our All-Stars this year. Just really an indictment, not an indictment. What's the opposite?
That's not the word.
I don't know what the word opposite for indictment is. Is there an opposite? Benefit, I guess. Just all 3 of these players are players that were drafted, developed by the Tigers. So I think that's really exciting.
I have one thought on Green, because I also was very skeptical of that adjustment that he was planning to make this offseason. And obviously, I take my hat off to him because it's been fantastic. The numbers on this. So he has decreased his swing percentage is down 7 percentage points. His out of zone swing is down 6 percentage points.
Yeah.
In turn, his hard hit rate is up 6 points and his walk rate is up 5 points. So just keyholing a little bit more, just being more selective on what he's swinging at. He's hitting the ball harder and he's walking more. So somebody diagnosed the right thing, whether that was him or somebody in the Tigers org, and he's followed through on it. And another guy that deserves to be an All-Star.
It sounds so easy. Don't swing at balls and swing at strikes. To actually put that into practice is one of the hardest thing a major league player can do. And he's not only done it, he's done it and been more productive by doing it.
There's some school of thought out there that plate discipline isn't something you can teach. And maybe Green is a counterexample to that. But that's a pretty, I don't think it's universal, but it's a pretty commonly held thought amongst
It's impressive
players
when
all
it
the people.
happens.
Yeah. Yes.
Or it should definitely be like someone should be getting some flowers when it happens because like everyone, how many think of your favorite slugger and think of how many pitches they have swung at an opposite-handed slider in the dirt 5 feet off of the plate or a curveball that bounces at home plate and they still swing at. And to just kind of take that and just like I don't know what drills he did in the offseason, but if he had a personal coach, that coach should be given a raise. I'm assuming if he does, he's probably getting a nice like Rolex in his mail here pretty quick. But if it was the Tigers, that scout or that coach should be given all sorts of flowers and a promotion because that is genuinely really impressive to see.
I don't know like all the stuff, but one thing that he mentioned is in the off season he would take one of the what's it called, the pitching machines, and he would like tune it to do off speed stuff or like out stuff that would be outside the zone, and he would just practice staying in the in the batter's box and not swinging at that.
Yeah,
Just
Tracking.
being able to read that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm really encouraged by this. In 2024, this is the Riley Green we're seeing right now is a lot more like the Riley Green we saw in 2024 when he got his first All-Star, but better. So I'm really encouraged in that he's just going to continue to grow. The power is something that can always, like I said, he's heating up. He's still got an 829 OPS. You know, I mean, I'm not concerned that he's not hitting 35 home runs. And if he hits 25 or 30 home runs, that's great. I'm more encouraged about the fact he's hitting 287.
Well, not only is he hitting 287, I think if we would have done a blind test and say who has the highest batting average on the Tigers, everyone would have said Kevin McGonigal. Everyone. And McGonigal is 5 points lower. Now, granted, it's 5 points. It's like literally like 2 hits. So, like, whatever.
At one point, Green was leading the league in hits.
Like, well, he leads this list in hits for what that was. That sample of 5. He has one more hit than McGonigal.
So he's just been really impressive.
All right.
Not enough Tigers fans appreciate him, but
yeah.
Separate.
I also kind of want. Do you think like we'll talk about Dingler next, but do you think he's going to be like because he struck out so often last year, the talking point against like I don't want to say casual fans because like I don't that sounds like negative, but like fans that tune in and out, they're just going to have that stuck in their head for like the next 5 years. Even though it might not be part of his game anymore. I mean, eventually it will be because it'll be unplayable at some point. But I wonder if that's going to stick in fans' minds that he strikes out a lot, even though he's really adjusted his profile.
The things that I fear that have stuck to him is that 1, he strikes out too much, and 2, he's not clutch. Those are the things that people have attached to him and never going to be able to shake. Because nothing he's going to do is going to be enough for these people. You know, it's just one of those things. It was I hate it when players will like do this in a rookie season or whatever, or they have one bad moment and then that just gets attached to them for the rest of their careers. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things that people are never going to be able to, you know, I don't know what the right word would be, but like get off.
They're going to latch on to it.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan Dingler.
Yeah,
your favorite player, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I think he is my favorite player at this point. I like catchers.
But wait. Can I ask you one question that you can't answer right now? How far away is he from Alex Avila?
I don't know, because Alex Avila he's my favorite player all time. I mean, Dylan Dingler has only been on the team for 2 years, a year and a half, depending on how long you want to count it. So I don't have.
But that's really what I'm asking is like I know Avila is your favorite player of all time, which is awesome. I love that. He was a very good catcher. He had like a 12, 15-year career. He had a very good career, but like I'm going to guess there's not too many Alex Avila fans as their favorite player of all time. So I genuinely love that, but I wonder like what does Dingler have to do to take that throne in your mind?
I don't know. I don't know if there's I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know if there is an answer. I guess it just depends on.
Right.
Part of it is probably going to be how long he ends up being on the team, how long
Right.
he stays good, kind of that kind of stuff. What happens? We'll go from there. I mean, part of the thing is it's always going to be nostalgia. You're always your longtime favorite players. Most of the time are going to end up being the ones that you watched when you were 12. So.
Yep.
But I really like Dylan Dingler because he's everything you want to see in a catcher and more, because he's arguably the best defensive catcher in baseball, at least the top 3. He's amazing with ABS. He's one of, if not the best catcher at using ABS. He's currently hitting for an 854 OPS with 19 home runs, which is insane. He has 34 two-out hits and 2-out RBIs, and he just got more today, so that number's outdated. I mean, he is the type of player that say, who do you want at the bit plate with runners on and 2 outs? Right now, it's Dylan Dingler because he comes through in the big moments. He's not just hitting home runs; he's also just getting regular hits. He's getting doubles. He's getting singles. He gets on base a good amount. He plays nearly every day, if not as the catcher that he's DHing. He's a great teammate. I mean, what else is there to say? He's very good case for ending up being top 5 in MVP votes at the end of the season because he's been amazing. And he plays a really important position.
No,
pitchers love him. I mean,
my one caveat is, I am definitely in the camp of clutch is not a skill. So hits with 2 outs, while like he did them, I don't know if we can count on him doing it the rest of the year. However, he's still a 133 OPS plus at catcher. The defense is real. I don't know if Dan winced a little bit when he heard best defensive catcher and he thought of Patrick Bailey and Austin Hedges, but he's in the conversation. That's undeniable. And to have, do I want to say tell me if I'm wrong, but he's probably the best all-around catcher since Joe Mauer.
I don't know about that kind of comparison, but I would say he's the best all-around catcher right now in baseball. I'd say right now he is the best catcher in baseball. Drake Baldwin and Shea Langoliers might be better hitters right now, but they have nowhere near the defensive prowess that Dingler has, and that's way more important.
Yeah, Cal Raleigh would be the only one I would say, but he's having a horrible year right now.
He's having a horrible year. His defense is down. And last season, Dylan Dingler was better at defense because he won the Gold Glove. Also, This is just me being salty. During the ALDS, announcers could not shut the fuck up about the point that Cal Raleigh has 0 pass balls this season. Guess what? Dylan Dingler also has 0 pass balls the entire season. Did they mention that? No. But yeah. He has 19 home runs this season in 82 games. In the past.
As a catcher.
As a catcher.
Catchers, an OPS plus for a catcher is 85. He's 133. He's a legitimate great hitter regardless of position, but he's 50 OPS plus points above a catcher. That's incredible. And he's played 82 games. They've only played 90.
They have played 89 games. Well, 90 games now. This is 80. Yeah, I was going off. Yeah, he does not. He DHs when he doesn't catch. He plays nearly every day. I mean, he has a fantastic arm to catch stealers. Last year he recorded the fastest recorded, home to second throw. He is so good at getting completely on target throws. It's amazing. Yeah, he is, argue with the wall, he's the best catcher in baseball right now.
All right. Dan, any thoughts?
Good job, Francis. No, he's everything you guys said. He's arguably, and I don't know that there's much of an argument you can make for anybody else, but he's the best catcher in the sport right now. When you can, all encompassing all talents, all skills.
526 slug. I mean, that's crazy. I thought he would be good. I didn't think he was going to be this good.
I don't think anyone nobody expects a catcher to have a 133 OPS plus. Nobody, like, his offense has been like 100th percentile outcome for him. Because I mean, he might have been a top 100 prospect at some point, but it wasn't like he was top 5 overall prospect globally at any point. Like, he has developed into a real threat. Something like whoever helped develop Dingler, again, deserves that raise. But anyway, let's the cat, Kevin McGonigal.
Cat. Oh, okay. And I was like, what?
They'll say, think about it. They'll say, I'm not that old, and Harry Potter is still relevant.
Oh no, I grew up on Harry Potter. It was just a weird reference. Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
No, it was just requires multiple logical jumps that I was.
It's a jumps to conclusions, Matt. It's a math where you have to jump to conclusions. Lee, name the movie.
Yeah. So Kevin McGonigal. I mean, I'm not catering to you.
Okay, fine.
Before I want to take my moment to brag a little bit on just myself and my opinions. Before this season, I was advocating for Kevin McGonigal to be added to the Major League roster because you look at him in spring training and he was doing very well. I sat here and I said he should be on the opening day roster because what else is there to prove? And you guys told me, no, you shouldn't do that. Let him stay in AAA.
I did.
I was supportive. It took me a little bit of time, but I agreed with you.
Yeah,
By the end of spring training, I was saying that what else does he have to prove?
I will say, in my defense, I said let him go to AAA to start the season, but he's probably going to be up by May. They just escalated that by 6 weeks. But you were at any point.
Eric, that's a really roundabout way of saying you were wrong.
Oh, no, and this is where I was going to say, like, you cut me off before I was giving Lee your flowers, but at every point, Lee disagreed and stuck to her guns, and he was on the opening day roster, and right now he has a 4.4 baseball reference WAR. So I was wrong 100%, but I also want to this point in, like, I thought he was going to get like 400 to 500 plate appearances. I just didn't think he would be this good or break the opening day roster.
Yeah. Kevin McGonigal, if it were not for Bobby Witt Jr., you could make an argument for him being the best player in this division right now. Current wins above replacements. This is in all of MLB. Number 1, Sanchez for Christopher Sanchez. Number 2, Shohei Ohtani. Number 3, Pete Crow Armstrong. Number 4, Bobby Witt Jr. Number 5 in WAR in the entire MLB is Kevin McGonigal. As a rookie, he is 21 years old. I mean, what is there to say about him that we haven't already talked about? Right now, on this, you can see here, he's highlighted as little on base is highlighted because he's the highest on base in this group of 5. He is 9th in on base in the entire league. This is not among rookies, not among AL Central, not among the Tigers. All of rookies, not all of rookies, all of MLB players. He has more walks than strikeouts. He has 91 hits. He has 7 home runs. He has played nearly every day at 2 premium defensive positions, and he's played them well. He has a 127 OPS plus, and he is 21 years old. This is just, first of all, he's an incredible player. Second of all, this is very cool for him. Being an all-star in his first year at 21, and it's in Philly, he's from the Philly area. He is the first Tigers first-year rookie to make the All-Star game under the age of 21 since Mark Fidrich in 1976. And that game was also in Philly, which is kind of weird. But he's incredible. He is one of the best players that has come out of our development system in a very long time. He's one of the best hitters I've seen on this team in a very long time. He's a very good player. End of sentence.
Right. They're looking. Whoever signed him to that extension is looking very, very smart right now. So, yeah, it might seem a little bit counterintuitive to just talk about Kevin McGonigal the least, but like I have a feeling come rookie of the year conversation, we're going to talk about him a little bit more. So why don't we move on?
I have 9 more years at least to talk about him.
This is true.
Can I make one more point real quick? It's not just about McGonigal, but that list of 5. Bazana's 23. Dingler is 27. Vargas is 26. McGonigal is 21. Who am I forgetting? Dingler is 27.
You said 27.
And Green is 25. All these guys are young. Dingler is the oldest at 27. Bodes really well for the division. Shows how much young talent is rife in this division, and I think that's pretty cool.
All right, let's move on to the pitching here. Oh my goodness, why didn't I do that? Okay, so pitching. Michael Wacha. Again, this is where I have to, just like I said Kevin McGonigal should go to AAA, just like I poo-pooed that Riley Green should not adjust anything with his swing. I did everything in my power to crap on both Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha basically all offseason, thinking that they were too old and that everything was going to come to an end. Michael Wacha has been very good. 3.45 ERA, 1.20 ERA plus, 91 strikeouts in how many innings? It doesn't list. That's frustrating. 6.5% walk percentage, a low strikeout rate, but that's fine. Michael Wacha, I don't think was ever blowing anyone away with his stuff. He just knows how to pitch. So I was wrong again, I guess. So like maybe the theme of the show is Eric should not be giving his opinions on players. But any thoughts on I know Sam isn't here, but any thoughts on Wacha? Because he's been nothing but consistent. I don't think like he has a stat that like blows you away as a 3.45 ERA.
As a collective, it's very good when you put it all together. Like anyone can have one stat that just stands out, but like it's hard to have every stat be like, yeah, that's good. That's a good number.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, I'll be honest, I haven't paid attention to this Royals starting rotation. It did not surprise me that there was a Royals pitcher on this list. Maybe it surprised me that there was Wacha of all people, because I haven't paid attention to who's still not injured, I guess. But yeah, I mean, good for him. He's looked really good. He's looked good for a while now. Pretty cool. And it's been like, what, 11 years since his last All-Star appearance or something like that? That's like a really big, yeah. And that's cool. I like that.
I remember when he signed, because I think he signed like a 3-year, $50 million, something like that. 3-year deal. I think this his last year?
I'd have to check.
I'd have to look it up, but I thought at the time that was an overpay, and he has proven me wrong every year. So whatever, I'll stop beating that dead horse. But Dan, what are your thoughts?
So he's doing this at 34. He's been a picture of consistency for Kansas City since he got there, and he leads the league in innings pitched. He leads the league in batters faced. On a team with a lot of upheaval, with a lot of inconsistency this year, he has been very much a steadying force. And, again, all the credit in the world to him because he's earned this. And I'd be curious to see what that innings total ends up at because he's at 114 2/3 right now. He could very easily blow past 200 innings in a league that doesn't happen so often anymore.
I was about to say, people will look at 200 innings 10 years from now as if it's a miracle.
Yep.
Anyway, why don't we talk about the two Guardians, one starter and one reliever?
He's third in innings pitched for overall.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
So AL leader, but all the same.
Alcantara with 123, Sanchez with 117, and then Wacha with 114. So he's been a workhorse.
Yeah.
It's like the Chad innings eater type of player.
The Chad isn't Chad like a derogative?
Kind of. It's a meme of the Chad innings eater versus I forget what the phrasing always is, but it's like the guy who always gives you 7.2 innings versus the one who has really high Like, he's got a really high K per 9, but he's always injured, and he only throws 112 innings.
Lee, as a Gen Z trying to explain to two old men, what is a Chad? Because now my definition of a Chad is being like definitely like upheld.
It has a lot of different meanings depending on the context.
Well, that's not helpful.
It's like a macho guy, right? It's like a good-looking macho guy.
Not alpha male, but like kind of in that realm of macho, superior, tough guy. I think macho tough guy is probably the best.
The Chad Innings Eater thing is a Foolish Bailey thing, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're watching this, go watch him after us. He'll explain it to you.
Fair enough.
I know it's a meme it goes around a lot, but yeah, he's the guy who's gonna give you 7 innings a game, 3-something ERA, and not necessarily gonna strike out everybody, but like value in giving you 7 runs with giving you 7 innings with 2 runs.
And not for nothing. This is such a stupid joke, so I apologize ahead of time. His Baseball Reference picture makes it look like he's about to hit on your mom and take her home.
Parker Messick's face.
That was a stupid joke.
Parker Messick's Baseball Reference photo looks like a bully in a movie. He looks like the stock jock bully. Am I wrong? Am I just being a Guardians hater?
I can see it.
He's got like the smug smile.
No, it's
kind of.
Parker Messick is a very good Christian name. I'll let you know, Lee.
So this again, another dumb joke. I watched some Curtis Connor, and I thought of Parker, and my instant thought was Parker. Hardly know her. Like anyway, go on.
Parker Messick. I don't want to go as far as saying he's been a revelation because I think that's a little extreme. But this is a guy that we thought was going to be like maybe a 3 or 4 starter in this organization, and just in general, that's kind of what he projected as. With a plus change, like a really good changeup. He's been all that and more. He nearly threw a no-hitter earlier this year, would have been the first Guardians no-hitter in over 40 years. And he's been, some people don't like the term ace being thrown around, and I acknowledge that, but he's been the best pitcher on the Guardians so far this year. He has been their ace. If they were to go into a playoff series this year, there's going to have to be some sort of conversation about, do you start Parker Messick in game 1? Yeah, he's a rookie. He is a rookie, by the way. He's probably the best competition I could put up against McGonigal for Rookie of the Year that I can think of off the top of my head.
I've seen more people arguing for Bazzana than Messick online.
I would argue for Messick. He's been doing it the full year. He's the premier player at his position for the Guardians in a way that Bazzana quite hasn't been. And I think the metrics back it up too. The other thing I want to acknowledge here is, like I said, everybody thought, wow, he's got a really great changeup. I want to read to you the highest run value pitches in the league so far this year. Number 1, Jacob Mizorowski's 4-seam fastball. That's a no-brainer, right? Like, that guy's been incredible, and it's the fastball that's kind of carried him. Number 2, Christopher Sanchez's changeup. That's a Cy Young level changeup. That's a really good pitch. Number 3, Parker Messick's 4-seam fastball has been the 3rd most valuable pitch in the major leagues this year. Didn't see that coming. His velocity is up. He's been hitting 99, 98 this summer. To go with that changeup, he's been, I don't want to say unhittable because that's not true, but he's been fantastic. And I'm just glad to see him get this opportunity. Again, another guy that's earned it. Cade Smith leads the sport in saves. And dealing with the tumult of Clase being banished last year, getting switched out of a role that he had gotten really comfortable in as the fireman on this team, being thrust in the closer's role, that was kind of rocky this last year. But he has really come into his own as a closer. He's had a couple, multiple inning saves that have been really important for this team. And he continues to be one of the most, there's been some bumps along the way, but there's fewer guys I would rather stick in a 9th inning in this sport than Cade Smith and feel good about coming out of it with the W more often than not. So his stuff remains impressive. And, again, one of the best relievers in this sport.
Have you by chance noticed how many first pitch balls that he throws into the dirt?
No, and I'm glad I haven't had to. I completely blocked that out of my mind. So, no, I haven't noticed, but I'm guessing it's at least more on the up and up, and that's
We
good.
Yeah.
haven't noticed yet, but 4 years from now, when the 25-page expose comes out.
Just turns out the Guardians are just
No,
pipelines
please
for
no.
all of these heathens. I do like. I don't. We don't need to go back to Parker Messick, but like that name surprised me when the rosters were announced. Where like I had to go back and look at his baseball reference. Like, oh, okay, so like he's a guy now. Where like he was always like climbing, but it was always like Bybee and like I underrate Bybee, I think, in my mind, because every time I think of a Cleveland number one pitcher or starter, I'm thinking of like CC and Bartolo Colon and
Cy
yeah,
Young Award
Kluber.
winners.
And Bybee, he's very good, he's very solid, but he's not that extra step. So like I always pictured Bybee was the closest to that, but Messick is just as good this year, if not better.
I think you're speaking to something that, I had mentioned, like this was a surprise. He wasn't projected to be this good, but he's been this good. And I do think the Guardians are doing a little bit more this year. I don't want to say by committee because that's not true. But instead of having a top level ace and then some other guys, they've got a band of like four starters that you can feel really good about on any given day. And then Slade Ciccone, who's looked a lot better, interestingly, since Patrick Bailey came over to the Guardians. So
Mm,
uh, it's not quite that like top level, Cy Young Award winner, but they've got good depth.
yeah. And then I'll move on to Joe Ryan. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time because I suspect, and I'll ask you guys this at the end of the, after I get done talking about him. I don't know if he's going to be on the team this time next month, but we'll see. He's been very good. He's done this the last 3 years. He's been very consistent in the first half. The problem with Joe Ryan is really second half related, and it seems like he wears down. He's a very quirky dude. He's fun to watch. And for somebody who is really a two pitch pitcher, it is a splitter and a funky fastball that he has more ride on his I'm trying to like pretend that I'm smart, so like I'm taking these words from someone else, but his ride on his fastball, it doesn't dip as much as other fastballs because when he was younger, he was very good at water polo. And apparently, the way he threw it was more like a frisbee style, or like how he threw it. And that's whatever he did, it translated to his fastball, and it doesn't dip. So his main pitch is his fastball, which doesn't drop as much as you think it will, versus a splitter, which drops a lot. It's been a very, very good pitch. So for someone who's only a two pitch pitcher, and I shouldn't say he's a two pitch pitcher because he's constantly tinkering with things. He's a very smart dude. He's always trying to find like something else. If you guys remember, there was a story last year where he probably shouldn't have said this. He probably should have sat on this for a bit, but he said like, well, I've been throwing my fastball, my splitter, and then like he has like a curveball and a changeup and things like that. But he said like he was throwing a cutter, but baseball savant wasn't picking it up. So there was a little bit of different movement. And he like one like random post game, he like struck out three batters on it, like and that they just looked silly on it. And he just kind of like did like a hee hee, I've been throwing a secret pitch. And then like the next day, Savant or like MLB just like went through it and be like, well, holy crap, he has been throwing another pitch that nobody knew about. So like then suddenly like a cutter like popped up on a Savant page. So like that's the type of person he is. He's very goofy. He that can be good or bad. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, which makes him very fun to watch, but also things that are not in his control, like a bad defensive play or a bad umpire call or maybe a challenge that should have been challenged or he thought should have challenged can really like get in here and he has a 3.61 ERA. So like let's not be bullish about this. He's been very, very good, but he does have a tendency to have things just kind of collapse on him. His last start against the Astros was a good example. The Twins had terrible defense. He ended up giving a grand slam to Yordan Alvarez, which, don't get me wrong, giving up a grand slam to Yordan Alvarez, there are worse people to give up home runs to. But he's been very good since he got traded from Tampa Bay. I would maybe argue the Joe Ryan for half a season of a Nelson Cruz in the last calendar year of his baseball career is maybe the best trade in Twins history because he's been a back-to-back all-star. He is a number one starter that you feel good about starting a first game of the playoffs. He has been so good for the Twins. I kind of I hope he's on the team August 5th. It's going to depend on how they play the next couple of weeks, but he's very fun to watch. He's a character, as Justin Morneau likes to say.
Yeah, he's just been really solid for you guys for the last 2 years now.
Yeah.
Finished second in the AL Central Rundown Pitcher of the Year award voting last year, if I remember correctly. Lost to Tarek Skubal, of course, but did finish second.
Yeah.
I will say,
sizable gap, Joe Ryan, but
well, that's just and like that's not a slight on Joe Ryan. That's just how good Tarek Skubal is.
Skubal had every first place vote, and I'm pretty sure Ryan had every second place vote. So like firmly in second place, but that's the only guy he was behind. And then I also wanted to mention, you mentioned his ERA being a little bit higher, but his FIP is 295. So, 295. So a little bit of bad luck there as well as maybe some of the frustration.
But also, he has a 28% strikeout rate. He has a 5.5 walk rate. Those are very good.
Yeah.
That's very good for a reliever. Like Cade Smith has the highest K rate. He's 35%. You expect that from relievers because they're throwing 2 pitches at max effort. Joe Ryan consistently goes 6 or 7. And like he's increased his velocity every year he's been with. Maybe this year he's kind of leveled off. But when the Twins acquired him, he was just that fastball. And it was like a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball. He will hit 97 on occasion. And he's developed this not sinker. Oh my goodness. The split, which, I mean, maybe pat on the back for the Twins development there because he has just turned out so much better than I think anyone gave him credit for, just for getting traded for a 40-year-old Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, if you look at strikeout to walk ratio, he's 8th in the league right now. I mean, that's pretty damn good. That's in some high company.
Now, I would be, if I am MLB teams know this, but if I am a team who is interested in Joe Ryan, and I'm very curious to see, like, the better the Twins play, and they're third. They just took a series in New York, which has not happened since like 2017. Like that's been really bad in New York for the Twins. I don't know there's going to be a lot of sellers. We talked about this last week. Joe Ryan has a year and a half of team control. Tarek Skubal is going to get the most prospect return. But I kind of wonder if Tarek Skubal and Joe Ryan are going to get similar returns because Joe Ryan has a year and a half left and Skubal has as soon as Skubal gets traded, the next call is going to be to Minnesota. And I wonder if they're going to get a prospect return that they can't refuse. I'll be very interested to see what they do. I hope they don't trade him because he's very fun to watch. And I'm getting more optimistic by the week. The Twins might be, I hesitant to say competitive next year, but at least they might be in the running for a division title. Again, that might sound silly at this point out, but they're 4 games back now. The Tigers are playing better, and it's not like the other 2 teams are running away with it, but we'll see. I would prefer him to be on the team, but I'd be curious to see what happens. I do want to ask you guys, though. It's August 5th, exactly a month from now. What is the percentage chance Joe Ryan is still a Twins pitcher on August 5th?
Give me I would say, I think it was a 66% chance. I'd say 1 in 3 he gets traded.
Right, that he will leave.
Yeah, 1 in 3 that he is not on the team anymore. I think there's a better.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's a better than not chance.
Wait a minute. By God, that's Sam's music.
Yeah, it's Sam on your left. How you guys doing?
Doing well. We literally are just wrapping up the All-Star selection, so now we need to talk about Bobby Witt for a minute.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no, initially I was supposed to be suspended from today's podcast, but then the president, he stepped in and he took care of that for me. So
I gave you that red card for a reason, Sam. So anyway, the one question I did ask is Lee was in the middle of our explanation. So Joe Ryan, and this will be interesting to hear your take. August 3rd is the trade deadline. What is the percentage chance Joe Ryan is a Twin on August 5th? So Lee, you're in the middle of yours. I'll give Sam, you can get a couple minutes, and then we'll go to Dan and then Sam.
I think the Twins aren't going to be in blow it up mode this season. I think it was probably like 50-50. They do like a soft buy, 50-50 they do a soft sell, where they like, okay, maybe we'll add some random 100 OPS plus guy to boost up the roster just in case we decide to make a run, but we're not going to be too committed about it. I think or they'll like, oh, we got so-and-so on a 1-year contract. Let's see if anyone will take Josh Bell. That type of thing. I don't think they're going to be like, let's trade the ace of our staff with 1.5 years left of team control because we want to be competitive next year. I think they're telling themselves they want to be competitive next year, so they're going to hold on to him until next year.
But you did say 66% chance he is traded.
No, I meant 60% chance he stays on the team. I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 in 3 he is traded.
Okay.
Because, like you said, there might be a chance they just give you a bunch of prospects, and you're like, "Ooh, why not?"
Yeah, I was about to say there is an offer that the Twins would be like, well, we don't want to, but like.
The Skubal bidding war will be going on, and someone's like, I'm not in on that, but let's go and overpay for some other
I do think whoever loses out on Skubal will call Minnesota with like a near identical offer, and that will be very hard for the Twins to turn down. But anyway.
Yeah, that's, to me, the way that Joe Ryan gets traded is somebody misses out on Tarik Skubal and they panic and they call Minnesota and offer a very similar package or maybe even more. But that being said, I have a hard time sussing out what Minnesota is doing or trying to do, and I understand that they've changed who's in charge over there in the last 12 months, but that means we have even less knowledge of what this person is planning to do. And, I keep thinking back to earlier this year when a promise was made to be competitive this year. And so I have a really hard time with this. I'm in a similar realm as Lee in terms of my percentage, but I'm going to knock it down just a little bit because I think it's really closer to 50-50, but I'm going to go with like 60% chance that he stays.
You know what's interesting is I think it was either Jim Bowden or The Athletic came out with their who's on the hot seat at this trade deadline, and it was general manager, team president, Tom Pohlad. They didn't even list the Twins GM. It was Tom Pohlad because he made that quote that said, we're going to be competitive. So it is interesting. And especially Tom Pohlad made a lot of promises coming into this year. We're going to be competitive. I'm going to spend money on the team, blah, 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 blah. Well, here we are. We're a month out from you putting money in your mouth, or if you're putting money in your yacht. Anyway,
just like curiosity, do you remember if Scott Harris was on that list of managers or of GMs on the
yes, but I think he was on like the lower end of it. He wasn't like the number one hot seat guy.
Gotcha.
Sam.
I think it's low that he's still on the Twins on August 4th. Dan said that people in charge have changed in the last 12 months, and that caused me to do air quotes change.
Yes, 100%.
So we've seen what the Minnesota Twins have done at the trade deadline in the before times of last season. So I think that will be similar to what they do now. And I think the other thing is when Michael Wacha was announced as an all-star, the first thing that crossed my mind, well, the second thing the first thing that crossed my mind was, good for him. He hasn't had a lot of those in his long career up to this point. The second thing that crossed my mind is, well, that's going to make his trade value go up.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Is Joe Ryan's trade value going to ever be any higher than it is this season at the deadline? Probably not. I mean, unless we see Joe Ryan, really just take another step and become, a top tier guy. So I would say, I'm going to say there's about a 60% chance that he gets traded.
Okay. I thought you were going to go much lower than that. I thought you'd be like, there's a 25% chance he's a Twin.
I think there's at least a 60% chance that he gets traded. And I think it might happen the opposite of what Dan just said and what Lee just said is it could be, insert team here misses out on Tarik Skubal. And then they say to themselves, oh, well, we just saved, all these prospects and draft picks and whatnot. We didn't get the grand prize, so we're going to just, we'll just stand pat right now. And I think that Skubal is number one. Is Joe Ryan number two? Is he the number two pitcher who we expect to be a trade deadline?
I think he might be, but because I don't think teams know what they're doing yet.
I think he also might not be the number two target just because he does have a year and a half left on his.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be. Like, he's not obviously being sold off, right? So, like, maybe Mize might be a guy that teams target more because he has, he's going to be a free agent in 3 months.
If nobody sells Joe Ryan's value, like, people go insane in the last 3 hours of the trade deadline, and whoever loses Tarik Skubal, I think, will make a panic decision and call Minnesota and be like, here's basically this. They won't say this, but here's the same package we just offered for Tarik Skubal. Do you accept? Type thing. But
people go insane in the last 3 minutes of the trade deadline.
That's what I'm hoping.
It'll be very interesting to see if Mize does get traded, because I think the Tigers have a better chance of re-signing Mize than they do Skubal. But not to get too far into that. It'll just be really interesting to see a team lose out on Skubal, and then they immediately call the Tigers back and be like, all right, what about Casey Mize? Like, what do you? But yeah, I don't know. I'm just very interested to see how the trade deadline is going to go out because, it's going to go either terribly or great for us, and I can't wait.
It's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, why don't you talk about your All-Stars?
Well, it's good to see Bobby get that nod, win the fan vote for the nice one. It's good to see Bobby get that fan vote win for the All-Star game, which he's lost out on the previous 2 seasons. This is the first time that he's been, selected as an All-Star game starter, and it's good to see. It's what he deserves. It's where he should be. It's where he, where everyone expects him to be going into the season. So, I think that's really good for him, and it'll be nice to see him on that stage with those other guys. I think the only negative about this is that if it gets into, and I mean this happened last year, but Bobby didn't get selected. If it gets into a swing off, that means that we're not going to see Bobby or Buxton to do the home run derby swing off for the All-Star game. But yeah, excuse me. No, good to see. Good to look at good to look at Bobby in that starting lineup. And then Michael Wacha, good for him. This is his second All-Star appearance of his career. He has had, obviously a very long career, and he's been around a long time. So it's good to see him. He got one back in 2015, and he has not been an All-Star since then, even though he's had a couple of pretty decent seasons under his belt over the years. So it's good to see that for him. He's really, he's been really good for the Royals this season. And as I said, this will only increase his trade value come August 3rd. So good to see that for both of those guys. I hope that Wacha can get into the game. The one thing I was hoping for, and this, obviously this can still happen, I was somewhat hoping that Daniel Lynch IV would make it to the All-Star roster because he's been really, really good this year. And I think that he's the type of guy where, you talk about guys who have good stories and guys who, you root for. And he's definitely one of those guys. And he's been excellent this season coming out of the Royals bullpen. So it would have been nice to see Lynch get on there. Again, there's always, there's time for these things to happen, obviously.
Yep.
But all in all, I feel pretty good about how the Royals are, a last place team. We got multiple All-Stars. I mean, that's more than you hope for. So.
Yeah, if you had told me at the beginning of the season, oh, Dylan Dingler, Riley Green, and Kevin McGonigal are all going to be All-Stars, I'd be like, great, how many games in the lead are we in?
Mm-hmm.
Negative lead. I mean, the AL only took five relievers too, so like that worked against them. One of them is Aroldis Chapman, so like.
Yeah, and that's the way things are,
Yeah.
There's going to be guys who drop out or guys who can't pitch because of the days off and stuff. So I was like, it is weird not having a Tigers pitcher in the All-Star game because we've had a Tigers pitcher since 2016 every year. So
didn't know that.
We've had one like a lot of those years it was the pity vote, but like we've always had good pitchers. We've always had pitchers in the All-Star game, so it hasn't been a while since we didn't have one. But that's mostly because both Mize and Skubal missed 5-6 starts, so it makes sense.
Yep.
Skubal also said last week he was leaning against playing in the All-Star game regardless. So makes because his
did Skubal talk and Scott Boris's voice came out of his mouth? Is that what happened?
No, I think he's just also because he did have surgery 2 months ago, so it makes sense. Mize would have been an All-Star if he hadn't missed a month and a bit over the course of the season because he's been really good this season. You can make an argument for a guy like Montero, but he hasn't pitched the whole season because he's been in AAA a bit,
Right. But also give it. I know Lee, you're saying this, but also give it 2 weeks. It's very possible Daniel Lynch IV is still going to pitch. It's possible, like, there's going to be guys dropping out. Vlad Guerrero already dropped out, like
2 minutes after it was announced. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think mine would anyway, because I think the days wouldn't line up. Because I think he's lined up to pitch like the Saturday before the All-Star game. Then. Right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what our lineups.
What is interesting is Derek Shelton will be on the All-Star coaching staff.
Oh, that's right.
He's very close with the Toronto manager who won the pennant last year, and he can select one other coaching spot from another team, and he selected Derek Shelton, which that's fine. I've been very happy. Like, I think Shelton has done a perfectly nice job. I think I'm happy with him, but it is kind of weird.
Do you have to pick another manager that's on the AL team?
You have to pick another person other than your staff. You can pick whoever, but it's basically your staff plus one other, is my understanding.
Also, maybe this is there anyone from the AL Central we think we could be in the home run derby? I know Buxton already said he wasn't going to if he was invited, but just, is there anyone who could be? Or now it's all going to be the West and the East.
Murakami, if he's healthy.
I think Vargas could be in it.
Ooh, Vargas could be.
That would be fun. Murakami would be fun. Not that he.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. If they want people from Japan to watch.
Yeah.
They got Ohtani for it.
Can I suggest?
Ohtani's not going to be in the home run derby.
I wonder if Murakami signed up, if there wouldn't be like a little bit of like a. I don't think he would, because he wouldn't. But I do kind of wonder if there's a scenario Ohtani does go on the home run derby, it's because Murakami's there, and there's a lot of like this going on, like little bit of pokes.
I don't think Murakami will be in the home run derby just because he's not an all-star in the first place.
Okay. Not anymore. You don't.
I feel like usually they are, but I get it.
Traditionally, it's usually all-stars. But
can I suggest one more snub from the AL All-Stars? I'm looking at the bench for the American League, specifically the infielders. Bazanas a second baseman. Kurtz is a first baseman. McGonigal, I know, can play a bunch of positions, but his primary is second. Rice is a first baseman. Vargas is a third baseman. There's no shortstops here.
Bobby Witt.
Shortstop. I'm talking about off the bench. Bobby Witt's not going to play 9 innings. Now, Lee, you're right. The answer is probably McGonigal. McGonigal is the shortstop, even though I'd argue that's not his natural position. It's probably second. You know who's third in WAR for shortstops in Major League Baseball right now?
Really?
Brian Roque.
Really?
Damn, okay.
Third in WAR. No, I had the filter set as shortstop as opposed to primary position, so maybe that makes a difference. But literally, WAR logged at shortstop this year. Brian Roque was third, and he probably doesn't. I think there's an interesting argument to be had there. That's all.
I think there's more of an argument for Colson Montgomery, if I'm going to be honest. I don't necessarily disagree that Rocchio isn't deserving, but my point would be Colson Montgomery is probably more, I think.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably, especially from a tools perspective, Montgomery is the more fun choice, and it is an all-star game. I just thought it was interesting.
We'll move on to the next point, because I think we've been talking about all-stars for an hour, which was good. That was definitely worth talking about. But if you're interested in reading about whatever snub you believe, just read your paper in the next week, and you will probably hear all of the snubs that should have made it, and it's a crime against humanity that they didn't. However, a baseball crime has been committed.
Paper?
On the internet. That's fine. Whatever dollar subscription they want you to buy. But a baseball crime has been committed because Austin Hedges and Bo Naylor had a little bit of a...
Josh Naylor.
No, Josh Naylor got in a little bit of a tiff. And I literally just Googled Josh Naylor's name and then just hit the news section. And I just want you guys to see. I'm going to read out these headlines before we go into what actually happened. The headlines: argument between former teammates Josh Naylor and Austin Hedges in personal Mariners Gardens game. Josh Naylor's ex-teammate reveals shocking knife incident details. The saga of Josh Naylor, Austin Hedges, a rocky history with the Guardians. What's going on with Josh Naylor and the Seattle Mariners? Nobody likes you, quote, Austin Hedges. Viral response to Josh Naylor's Caps emotional Guardians Mariners showdown. Those are some strong headlines, everyone. What happened? Dan, what happened? I'm going to show the John Boy video, obviously with no sound, because we have a close relationship with Uncle Rob. But Cousin Jimmy, I don't think, is as forgiving on the copyright strikes. So we're going to play it in the background. But obviously, if you're listening to this, you know who John Boy is. So go watch that video if you haven't already read it.
So this is last Sunday's game. This is probably going on when we were recording last week, quite frankly, if I'm not mistaken. The point being, it's the 6th inning. Mariners are leading. They're playing last Sunday against the Guardians in Cleveland. And Tim Herron's on the mound. And Tim Herron throws a slider that's easily get away from a bull. Let me try that again. Naylor could have gotten out of the way of the slider, and he chose not to. And he stuck a chicken wing out. He stuck his elbow out, and it hit him. And the Guardians felt a way about it. They obviously have a very close relationship with Naylor. He played for the organization for 5 years. They know his brand of baseball. I've stood up for it to a point over the course of time on this show. And in this case, Naylor took one for the team, but it wasn't really appreciated by the Guardians, and they felt like it was kind of cheap. Naylor takes an affront to this, starts shouting at catcher Austin Hedges, who was one of the people that was voicing his displeasure as this was occurring. And like some of those articles said, it got kind of personal at that point in time, hurling insults back and forth. The thing that really got play, though, and really got shown in the media a lot was the aftermath. The inning ends, nobody scores, anything like that. But, and John Boy and company did a fantastic job of sussing this out. But directly, Austin Hedges, I've talked about a million times on this show. Great guy, clubhouse leader, emotional leader, very positive person on and off the field. Takes off his mask and starts shouting at Josh Naylor about how nobody likes him.
Yeah.
And that his own teammates don't.
Not just nobody likes you. Literally, nobody likes you.
Nobody likes you. And it left people with a lot of questions about, these are two players that played together in Cleveland for several years. They date back to playing in San Diego together. They got traded to Cleveland together. So they know each other very well. And there's obviously some animosity there. There's some bad blood. And I think some of this is heat of the moment, playing a game and getting upset with your opponent about what they're kind of doing, what they're about. But at the same time, everything I just described, you'd think that they know each other well enough to not have this occur. And all those articles that you pointed out, Eric, I think are very salient and great and important and fantastic reads. I wrote something on my own site about this week, this week, where I think this is dating back to something changed within Josh Naylor in his last year and a half with the Guardians. And it stems to the 2023 trade deadline and a decision the Guardians made to trade for Kyle Manzardo. Presumably he was the replacement in the clubhouse for Naylor in the future. They both play first base. And so something changed at that point in time with Naylor and how he perceived the team. He became more aloof and went from being another emotional leader on this ball club to somebody who was very reserved and maybe started looking out for number one a little bit more often than he had in the past. And I think a lot of his frustration stems from that. I think that's the context for some of the things that got said. That's just my opinion. That's speculation on my part. But if nothing else, it was interesting controversy. This isn't Naylor's first run-in with, quote-unquote, a dirty play this year. Dylan Dingler, the oven mitt flip that we talked about a few weeks ago. Yeah, not even in this division. So he's getting more and more of a reputation, and I think maybe that reputation existed, but it's becoming more and more known in the media and by more fans. So not a good look for him. And I got to say, on Hedges' part, I kind of appreciate him standing up for his teammates and his team and kind of putting the guy in his place a little bit.
I
do want to show one other headline because Stephen Vogt, former catcher, was very political. This is another headline. If I would have scrolled down, we would have seen this headline. Stephen Vogt says, quote, just former teammates having a conversation, which is very polite. I do think you're right. It was a heat of the moment. I do think there was some gamesmanship as part of it, but I don't think it makes it any less true that Josh Naylor grinds on people and it's okay when he's in your clubhouse, but you really are okay with him leaving that clubhouse.
Yeah, I think it's worth it in Cleveland. I think that's from both sides. I think Vogt is a very interesting, and I'm again purely speculating, but I think Vogt is a very interesting character in this because just my perception is, I think maybe this stuff wasn't as much of an issue when Terry Francona was the manager. And for a rookie manager to deal with a personality like Josh Naylor, I think, again, speculation, but I think maybe Stephen Vogt was kind of relieved to have that out of his clubhouse. And maybe that was kind of a hard part of the job for him.
I have a few comments, I guess. I wanted to start off with I feel like Hedges' comments were more warranted than Naylor because Naylor just kind of like started spewing shit like unprompted. Like he told Hedges, "You're a backup to a backup, and you need directions to get to first base."
Can I speak to that for a second? I forgot about this. I wanted to mention this. So I believe what Naylor's insinuating there is Hedges can't hit. He needs directions on how to get to first base. Here's some stat lines for this year. Austin Hedges, slash line, 271, 336, 381. That's a 717 OPS. He's been worth one WAR. Josh Naylor, 251, 314, 359. That's a 673 OPS. Minus 0.2 WAR. Hedges has out-hit Naylor this year. So get your facts right, buddy. Like, even the things you're saying aren't true.
Yeah, that's...
And so...
Also, if Hedges is the backup to a backup, what does that make Bo Naylor?
I don't like that angle of this. I don't know how that plays into that Bo got demoted, and I don't know if Josh feels a way about that, but like it's maybe part of this, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I did like, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were
go ahead.
I liked, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, Hedges hit a home run, and the Guardians Twitter tweeted the video with, didn't need directions to get to home. That was very funny. And my second part, I'm not going to even pretend or put on a pretense that I am unbiased. I think I've made my opinion on Josh Naylor very clear. This is a tiny little bit vindicating for me personally as a Tigers fan, because the past few weeks have been full of Mariners fans being salty over the whole thing and acting like Detroit fans are like super soft for hating on Josh Naylor and all this shit. And now, this stuff comes out, and the stuff from 10 years ago with the knife thing comes out. And it's like, yeah, everyone else is starting to see. Everyone else is seeing what we have known for years. And so it's
okay, let's time out.
We have not liked Josh Naylor for a long time. This has been it was within the division for now, but now everybody else is seeing it. And so it's very vindicating. This is maybe years is an exaggeration, but this is not.
It's been an ongoing joke. It's been an ongoing, joke on this podcast that the Naylor brothers are the scourge of the earth. So, like, that has been a thing, but I do think Josh has definitely entered. We talked about, hell, he was the name of an episode like 3 episodes ago. Like, Josh Naylor is a blank. Like, we've been talking about this dude for a minute. So it is weird, like, within a month we talked about him twice. Plus, he's known as a Guardian.
And I have to say, as a former fan of his, and even thinking positively about him until very recently, it started to turn, like, my opinion of him in light of this event, in light of things that happened earlier this year. It's getting harder and harder to root for that guy from afar. It's, a bit of a mask off type of situation to a point. Not to get that dramatic about it, but you know what I mean. I
think my favorite part of this whole situation is just the fact that you could take Hedges and Naylor and you could replace them with like 2 13-year-old boys on the playground, and it would make complete perfect sense. Nobody likes you. You ain't shit. Come over here. Do something about it. Right? Like, these guys are just a bunch of little, kids out there on the field, having a little tiff. They need their mom to come over and tell them to calm down. And I think that it's it's one of those moments where you kind of realize, like, oh yeah, these are just like dudes. These are just guys who are angry and mad all the time. So yeah, no, that's the part of it that I enjoyed the most. And I think the interesting thing that we brought up here is, like, maybe what has happened to Bo Naylor is a element of this. And this is the organization that Bo Naylor was drafted by the
Josh.
I'm
talking about Bo.
Oh, you are Bo. Okay.
I'm talking about Bo Naylor getting sent down. All right, this is the organization that most of these guys, or these 2 guys, have played with for most of their careers, and at least one of them came up with. And it made me think of. I was watching First Things First the other day, and Kevin Wildes made the joke. I think I have some inside information that the Miami Heat have been in talks with Giannis Antetokounmpo to bring him into the team. Of course, that's Giannis's brother. these guys all in like, you know, the guys who played baseball together are brothers figuratively. The Naylor brothers are actually brothers. So like when something happens to one of your guys, that makes you have, you know, an emotional reaction to that. So it is interesting. I think the point about what happened to Bo Naylor earlier this year, that's something I hadn't thought about, and I'm glad that we clocked that on this podcast.
I do feel like maybe Josh is the kind of guy who, if he can find a thing that makes him angry, he thinks it makes him better on the field. And that sure as heck could have been a thing that made him angry at the Guardians for that 3-game series. Now, is that really working for him this year? No. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to continue to do it. So I could see that potentially being part of this. But it just feels like there's some feelings that have been lingering for longer. I don't do a bunch of self promotion on this channel very often, but I am going to say real quick, if you want to learn more about kind of what I was talking about, there's about a week in 2023 that I think is really interesting related to this. Go check it out. It's at the website pickupsportstalkcle.com. So sorry for doing that, but I wanted to throw that out there.
We don't do crap on social media, but Lee, let's promise both of us that we're going to post Dan's article on
sure,
it.
yeah. I'll need to actually log in.
I gave the gist of it here, but there's more detail to it if anybody wants to peruse it.
I don't think Josh Naylor is a likable person. I do think there's like some truth to what Stephen Vogt said. I think it's like competitiveness came out and the truth came out on both sides. Mm-hmm. Josh, I do think probably wants to stick up for his little brother. He might have an axe to grind with how maybe he was perceived in Cleveland. Because if I remember right, that when he was traded, there was a perception of Josh Naylor is maybe a little bit more husky than the Guardians would have liked.
And this is a really good point because one, I do think he gained weight in 2024. I think that's obvious. By the eye test, you can tell that. But I remember also something Ty likes to bring up is that 8th inning and on where Josh Naylor hit like 2 home runs in a double. The reason he got all angry in the first place is because some fans over on the first base side were making fun of him for being fat.
Yeah.
So that is obviously, it's, Hartman, I'm not fat, I'm big boned. And then he does something incredibly heinous. Maybe kind of similar in this case. He does not appreciate that, nor should he, by the way, but he really doesn't.
I'm not a fan of Josh Naylor, but I do appreciate a good heel, like a good villain who just embraces being a villain sometimes. And maybe I'm going to have this attitude until the Twins play the Mariners and Josh Naylor does the same crap he's done to the Tigers and the Guardians. And then I'm going to change my tune. But there is part of me that thinks this is at least this is entertaining, or this is at least kind of good for the sport. Because I think baseball, it's not a shocking to anyone listening to this. Baseball is just the very mellow sport. It's just, ho hum. And then to actually have a verbal altercation just seems a little bit different. So I may be playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I was entertained by this.
Baseball is the sport where they come out on the field and pretend like they're going to have a fight.
Yes.
Remember, there was an actual fight earlier this season, a month in, and it was the first actual fight in 3 years, and it was a big deal.
So, anyway, we have a schedule or a series to recap, and then we want to debut a list Lee came up with earlier. So why don't we go over very quickly the Guardians White Sox recap series, because I don't want to say it started off, it was a very entertaining series as someone who watched most of the games, but Dan, why don't you go on?
Absolutely. This started out quite swimmingly for the Guardians. They won Thursday night in the first game of the series 6-5. And that's after the White Sox had a lead, a 5-2 lead in the 6th, and the White Sox bullpen could not kind of hold it together. David Fry homered in the 7th, brought it to 5-4. And then in the 9th, Ryan Rocchio, and I do want to talk about this for a moment. It's a walk-off home run off of Grant Taylor off the foul pole in right field. Very reminiscent of the walk-off home run he hit to clinch the division last year. Same spot, hit it off the foul pole, his second walk-off home run of his career. And I've said it a bunch of times on this show, but Rocchio has a flair for the dramatic. He has a career OPS of 883 in the postseason, for example, and he's hit 2 really memorable home runs in recent memory. So this is also a very emotional home run and an emotional event for Rocchio in a sense. He's from Venezuela. A lot of people are aware of kind of the natural disaster that had happened there recently, with the earthquake. And so he talked a lot in the postgame about wanting to represent his country. And I think, for a lot of the ball players from Venezuela, that's been weighing on them a lot. So this was a little bit of positive catharsis for him. Got a big hug from Stephen Vogt on the field after the game, after, crossing home plate. And so just a really good feel-good moment in that regard as well. But Guardians won game 1 on the back of some late-inning heroics, coming back from a 3-run deficit.
And really only late-inning heroics. Like, they scored 2 runs in the third, and then after they scattered their runs a little bit, but they were down 4-5 going into the 9th.
Yep.
So why don't we just skip ahead to the 9th? So, Dan, why don't you talk about the first walk-off? Because, of course, it's the Guardians. There's multiple walk-offs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this was, Rocchio going deep against a really good pitcher in Grant Taylor, who was throwing hard that night. And that was kind of, that's what I have on it at this point, just being a few days out, quite frankly.
Right. Nope, that's fair. And my video is freezing. So we'll go on to game 2 because we have another walk-off to talk about.
Yeah. So back-to-back nights here. This is another one. White Sox had a multi-run lead late. It was 3-1 in the 7th. A little bit of controversy in this game. There was an extensive rain delay. If you were with us, we streamed this game and kind of rode through that. But
I think that was Friday.
I'm sorry, Friday.
Right.
But this is that game. Yeah. In the 5th, Guardians led early in this game, but 1-0. But Gavin Williams gave up a 3-run home run to Miguel Vargas on what was a really good at-bat by Vargas. Really impressive. He had a 10-pitch at-bat, 2 outs, men on the corners, and finally got the better of Gavin Williams, who just left a sweeper over the middle of the plate. And Vargas made him pay for it, and Vargas has been a tough out for the Guardians for the entirety of the season so far. But the other thing here was it was raining. And the umpires called for the tarp immediately after that 3-run home run. And what I believe happened was it was a 1-0 Guardians lead, and it was about to be the end of the middle of the 5th. And it would have been an official game had Williams been able to get that final out of the inning. Once that home run was hit, now we were 4 outs away, the White Sox concluding out of the inning, and then the Guardians hitting in the bottom half of the inning away from it being an official game. And at that point, the umpire said, there's no way we're getting 4 more outs. We're going to pull the tarp now and wait this out. Anthony Kay, who was the White Sox starting pitcher for this game, had a little bit of a different opinion on this, thinking that perhaps there was some sort of shenanigans being pulled by the Guardians in getting the tarp pulled. I don't know what his thinking was on that. The home team doesn't make the decision on a tarp being pulled once the game starts. The umpires do. But there was a little bit of controversy over that, apparently, that maybe carried on throughout the weekend.
I imagine.
Anyway,
I think Kay was probably just bitter because his start got cut off.
Yeah, and I think that's what he was angling for, is he was pitching well, and he felt like this took him out of the game, and maybe there was some strategy behind that. But I don't know, man. Like, you're a decent pitcher, but I don't think anybody's scheming to get you out of the game, buddy. Like, no offense, but I don't think so. And then from there, the Guardians did come back. A lot of help again from Seranthony Dominguez, much like happened last week in Chicago. He had 2 walks that really rang as important. That set up clutch singles by Austin Hedges and Stephen Kwan. You just saw those on your screen if you're watching on YouTube right now. So even if you want to fault those hits as lucky because they weren't the hardest hit balls, Dominguez did gift wrap them, the 2 runs with the 2 walks. Beyond that, the combination of Aliman, Gaddis, Holderman, Cade Smith, and Eric Zabrowski pitched 5 1/3 scoreless out of the bullpen for Cleveland. And they were able to scratch across a run in the 10th on a Khalil Watson walk-off single. So the battle of the bullpens clearly went to Cleveland, and they were able to capitalize. And it was looking pretty good at this point in the series, having won the first 2 games, especially them both being in walk-off fashion.
And I was incorrect. This was the game we streamed because it was Friday. I thought this was the Thursday game, so I was incorrect. We did watch this game.
Yep.
Which, can we talk about our incredible knack for picking games that will have rain delays or walk-offs?
We should have streamed today. We would have been fit. That would have fit right in.
Yeah. It was the threat.
Game 3. This one went to the Sox. Sean Burke was really good. White Sox starting pitcher. Pitched 6 innings, gave up 1 run on the aforementioned Austin Hedges home run, by the way. This is what Lee was talking about a moment ago. But Burke, 11 Ks. Here's the key thing. No walks. 0 walks. And that seems to be key for the White Sox. They have a lot of live arms in their staff, it seems like, both starting rotation and bullpen. If they can harness that to go with their offense, they're going to be really tough next year and in years to come. But Burke was able to harness that on Saturday night. Like I said, six innings, 1 run. Really good fastball, by the way. 16 swings and misses in this game for Burke. The next highest was 4, with like 3 guys hit 4. So really impressive there. In this game, the White Sox were the team to score late as opposed to Cleveland. Colson Montgomery, coming into this game, was 3 for 19 with 1 double against the Guardians in his career. He was 2 for 5 with a double on the go-ahead home run in the 8th off of Tim Herron. So got off the schneid against Cleveland for him, hit a big home run that ended up being arguably the difference of the game, though Matt Festa did give up an insurance run in the 9th. White Sox won this one 3-1. And Cooper Engel, as you could see on your screen, actually finally made a good play after having a really rough series. And we'll talk about that, I think, more in a moment.
All right. And then finally, today, which I think Dan didn't catch too much of, it was an exciting game. You can kind of see on your screen here that the White Sox did come back a little bit. It was very back and forth, but this was also another delayed game because, I mean, we've made a joke about it, but Cleveland is very cautious when it comes to weather, especially start of the game. They're very quick to either delay the game or to push it back or to postpone. I'm going to guess Dan kind of mentioned before the start of this recording that it might have had something to do with this was a natural, like all the games were on Peacock today, which I think is a pretty good glimpse into the future, but we can talk about that at a later date. I think there was some some pressure to make this game to be played today. But they ended up starting, 2 hours late or something like that?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. The real thing that was a mess up here, and I at this point, it is the Guardians' decision to start. Although, again, maybe there was some pressure there because of the Peacock situation. I don't know. But it rained this morning, and it's been hot here for quite a while. And I think that helped the situation where the back half of the warning track and left field did not absorb the water. It was mud out there. There was a decision made. The game was supposed to start at 2, and it ended up being announced it was going to start at 2:30 instead. 2:30 came around, and people noticed that the warning track was still mud. And so Tanner Bybee had started warming up. Not started. He was ready to go at 2:30. Like, that was the plan. And he had warmed up, and they told him he had to go sit back down because they weren't going to start at 2:30 anymore. A lot of work was done to get that back half of the warning track playable. Ultimately it was, but we didn't start until 3:30 today. And so I think that really messed with the pitching situation, probably on both sides. I think the White Sox got away with it a little bit more because they started an opener today, and relievers are just more used to getting up and down. But I do think that colored the outcome of this game today.
And it was looking like, especially like early on, this was going to be like a 10-9 game. It was close. It was a 7-6 game where the White Sox just held on to a lead, which was, I mean, nobody scored a run after the 6th inning, when the White Sox scored their 7th. the way this series was going, you were like, oh, it just felt like Cleveland was going to walk them off again because lest we forget, and we joked about this in our Discord chat, that the White Sox had the audacity to walk off the Guardians last week. So the Guardians had to make sure they paid for that in twofold. So, but they held on to lead. It was a pretty clean inning. Nothing really to stay go. I think it was Montgomery's 2-run home run that. Oh, never mind. There's going to be another home run here in a bit. So it was a good game all around. It just wasn't as dramatic as the last couple of games we had. So Dan may have mentioned it, and we're at 155, so we have somehow managed, even though 3 of us started this show, that we're still running a little bit long, but screw it. I thought the All-Star thing was a really good convo. I'm going to let Lee take over because she came up with a list for us this week, and I thought it was really fun, and we should talk about it because I want it to be a thing in a normal segment.
Yeah, so we've kind of jokingly over the past year and a bit that we've been doing this, we've been like, oh, this player is kind of on my shit list, or like, oh, I'm really tired of X player. And I'm like, how about we just make this an actual list and give it some rules and such. So I took a few minutes a couple days ago, I guess now. And I was like, here, I'm just going to make a doc with some rules. And I added some few players on there as well to start us off, and we can kind of go through that. So first off, the spirit of this list is it's the AL Central shit list. So this will be players who are on your team who irritate you, who are bad players that kind of thing. So it's not players that you hate. It's players on your team specifically that you dislike watching. So rule 1, offenders must have specific repeated offenses, not just being bad. They have to be really bad. So it can't just be reliever blew a save one time and it's really in a bad moment and now you're just stuck on it. It has to be a repeated issue. 2, players must be on a 40-man roster and been on the active 26-man roster in the past calendar year. This is just if they haven't played on your team in a while, they can't be on your list. No more than 2 active players per team. Players can graduate the list by meeting one of the following requirements. Having a prolonged period of time where the specific offense that they landed them on the list is no longer an issue, or they have a prolonged period of time where their other performance outweighs the issues, is DFA'd, non-tendered, or traded away from the organization, or they've not been on the major league roster for over a year. These are up for debate. They can be added to or edited if we so choose. This is kind of my starting off point. Yeah, any thoughts on these rules to start us off?
I do think we need to put a limit on relievers because every time a reliever has a bad week, we're going to want to put them on this list. I think this is another category, past performance. So I do think it's interesting. We talked about Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor, I think, might be a good example to put on this list. He's not currently on a 40-man roster. Maybe he's a graduated or an honorary wing. But why don't we talk about the active players who actually on this list that we thought of very quickly?
Yeah, so this is just, maybe I missed someone. But Juan Brito, because Dan has complained about him extensively, despite the short period of time, because of his long of defensive errors. Put Drew Anderson on here because I'm still annoyed with him and he hasn't gotten better. And is an issue still. Edgar Hero, because the ABS stuff was very bad. It continues, it still is. Cooper Ingle, this is because, have you seen what he's done the past week? Jonathan India is a new one. I'm guessing Sam.
I added Jonathan India to the list, and I think we should add one more requirement to this list. For a player who is brought in who is just an abject disappointment. A player who is brought in who completely undershoots, is just completely ineffective for what they were brought in to do. And I feel like Jonathan India fits that bill very well.
Yep.
That is a very, very fair argument.
I do think he is 3 months away from being in the former graduated players, where I think he just lives in immortality.
I also on Josh Naylor, I don't think he fits because he is a player that we as fans of not his team hate. It's supposed to be players on our teams that we dislike. So right. We can only nominate players on our own team, I think.
And I mean,
personally, I've really been enjoying Josh Naylor content in the past few weeks. So
we've gotten some mileage out of that.
The way I'm viewing this is said player comes to the plate or has a ball hit to him, and my reaction is, oh God, not again. Or he has to be hitting at this point in time. And I don't know if it comes across on the show. I'm generally an optimist. I feel very positively about the team I follow. I don't have that feeling very often. It's honestly kind of weird that I've had that feeling about two players at the same time on this 40-man roster right now. But I do. I get scared whenever Brito had a ball hit to him. It was a white knuckle moment, and right now it's the same with Cooper Engel. And yeah, I just can't shake that. I think that was one of the inspirations for this list. Not the only one, but one of them. And so here we are.
I think this is a list for the players that whenever you are watching your team and you see why is he in the lineup, you go, why are we bringing this guy out? Why is he still here? And this is really a kind of an alternate name for this list. Could be why are they still here? Is maybe a good alternate way of describing it. It's that you want this player gone. Yeah.
I don't typically.
This might sound weird, but I really can't think of two players I want to put who are on the Twins currently. 2 months ago, Justin Topa, I added to the graduated players. The Twins are overachieving a little bit, so I don't have strong opinions on a lot of them. I just think the players who are underperforming or who are 30 just aren't going to be on the team next year, so I'm not as concerned about them. But
they're not underachieving their expectations,
right?
So they're not bothering you,
right? So nobody is actively making me want to throw up just because they're at the plate.
Consider yourself lucky then. That's a positive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking it as good because the Twins are still 3 games below 500. They're not a good team this year, but I'm not actively disgusted where I feel when I mention Hunter Renfroe, Sam white knuckles anything he is holding. And of course he's frozen as I say that.
I thought about putting Jahmai Jones on this list, but my issue is not with Jahmai Jones. My issue is the way that AJ Hinch keeps playing him. So that's a kind of example for a player that's not on this list. Yeah.
I think this is a cool idea. It's something we can update as we go along, and it gives us a talking point to talk about that player at that point in time. I think it's cool.
I think it'll be fun. Yeah, I can go back and add in some of the stuff we talked about for the rules later on. We get the wording. We don't need to do that on air. But yeah, I thought this would be entertaining and funny. Yeah, for some former/graduated players, I think it's best if we keep this to within the time period of the show for the most part, because this is the AL Central rundown shit list. But I put MJ Melendez and Ryan Kreidler. I kind of view these two as the founding members, really.
Yes, MJ Melendez, absolutely.
Yeah, I specified Tigers because in his Tigers, whatever you want, career, I guess. It's not an issue for you for the Twins yet. Justin Topa was Eric's addition here, along with James Outman. Yeah.
And my issue with James Outman, it wasn't I thought James Outman was going to be the savior of the Twins, but he's the reason Alan Roden was not on the opening day roster. And he just held a roster spot when the Twins weren't even playing him, to the point where Cody Clemens was starting in center field when James Outman's whole thing was he plays a good center field and he stole bases. He was terrible at both. I won't say terrible, but he was 4th on the depth chart in center field for the Twins. And that was his only thing he was there to do. He hit 150 for the Twins. He's played better against the Tigers, but I will also say he has not played well for the Tigers. I think he's had a couple hits with runners in scoring position, and I think he's had 2 home runs.
3 home runs.
That's
actually.
Yeah, and I think that's literally all he's done. I was angry at him because he shouldn't have been. Alan Roden should have started the season as their backup 4th outfielder. James Outman was never a good option, so I was very frustrated with that.
Yeah, that's the kind of response that a player on the shit list gets, just unprompted.
Why?
Why?
Why are you here?
Yeah, this is the why are you here? Yeah. Permanent members, we decided we needed a separate wing for members who are related to the team but not players actively. So, permanent members, I think, is a good way to put it for the owner. So specifically the Pohlads and the Reinsdorfs. I think you can really just shorten this to just owners, period. But
Right.
Pohlads and the Reinsdorfs
Okay.
are kind of the worst.
Nothing lasts forever.
That's true. We could also maybe put Tony La Russa, I think, is well deserved for what he did to the White Sox in 2021. I think you could also make Al Avila might be able to be put on this list.
That's a good point. He might. Yeah, I think we need to figure out how far back we want to go in North.
Right. Oh, yeah. You did just literally say it should be the length of the show. So, maybe we're going too far back, but
we can always change that if we want. And I said former/graduate because so far none of these players have graduated for positive reasons. It's all just been because they got DFA'd or traded or whatever. So, but maybe we'll have a separate category for players who actually improve. I think Engel is a great example of a guy who could do that, right? And then we might need a different word for this because maybe Hall of Fame has too many positive connotations. But put Hall of Fame for Clase and Ortiz.
I mean, Hall of Shame.
Hall of Shame is funny. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna actually Hall of Shame. There we go.
Did you guys watch the short about Clase and Ortiz I sent in the Discord the other day?
Yeah, I watched it. It was funny.
Yeah, that dude's been doing some pretty funny stuff recently.
I haven't dug into the court document because I have zero interest in that, but it was funny just to see. Oh, he threw against this pitch against this player, and they swung at it. It's very entertaining. Yeah.
Nope.
Dan, do you want to comment at all on the Hall of Shame?
Probably not.
Everybody knows why they're there. I don't have anything more to say about it at this point in time, other than I hope that justice is served. That's all.
I mean, at this point, instead of Hall of Shame, we could just call it the prison roster.
That's true.
You know,
what's the major league? Is it the California
Penal League? Yeah,
Penal League. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost feel like they don't really fit the spirit of this because this is more about on the field stuff. But I complain about Clase in particular.
On the field stuff they did. We just didn't know about it until they were
that's true.
banished to the shadow realm.
I mean, what they did was on the field, Dan.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think that's just the closest to off the field stuff that we will allow.
Yeah.
I think that's.
So be it.
I did put in some very poor examples. Very good examples as far as trash human beings that the Twins have had in our Discord chat, but it's not the spirit of this. So I appreciate it has to be bad baseball activity, not horrible person activity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's we want to keep this a little more lighthearted and on the field stuff specifically. So I think that's I think this has the potential to be something very fun that we come back to a lot. I just wanted to put some rules down, and it'll be entertaining to see how this plays out. I think, anyway.
Sam, do you have your candle ready for MJ Melendez?
No, that's that bit has been done, and MJ not lighting the world on fire with the Mets this season, but he's at least looks like he's held a baseball bat before this season. So I don't know. We'll see how good old Merv does as he progresses in his career.
I think you were frozen when I said this. Yeah, how do you him and Ryan Kryler kind of being like co-founders or inspirations, kind of.
I think that's appropriate. Appropriate. By the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but MJ Melendez's real name is Merville.
You did not.
You did not.
So if I had that name, I would go by my initials as well. So.
It is the correct choice.
Yeah. I'll go thank my parents for not naming me that.
Okay, so we have one series to predict, but why don't we go over the schedules for the next week? So the still division leading Chicago White Sox going into the All-Star break. By the way, it's the draft coming up on Saturday. I don't know if we'll do anything for that, but maybe that just... I really like the draft, so that might even be something I might do solo if nobody's interested in joining me on that, because I think the draft is fun. Anyway, the White Sox have tomorrow off, then they play against Boston and the Athletics before the All-Star break.
Can I point out, what is that alumni post-game on the Saturday?
It's probably just their Old Timers Day, would be my guess. Which is fun. That is always a good thing.
That's fun.
The Guardians play the Twins starting on Tuesday for 3 games and then have at Miami before the All-Star break. The Twins have the Guardians and then the Angels. So, even if it goes really bad in Cleveland, let's hope that the Angels are still the Angels.
Well, you're at home for the Guardians.
Yeah, so that is a little bit. And also, there is an all-you-can-eat with the Guardians, so you can eat away your depression at Target Field. Actually, it's literally all of the all of the Guardian series. They know their audience. You can depression eat. What I will say, the 10th...
I'm going to guess that you have to buy a special ticket for that, and it's probably only hot dogs and peanuts.
That's fine. I do want to say, it's the Twins Hall of Fame induction. I forget who's going in this year. I should know this. But also, on the 10th, it is Brawl at the Ballpark. So they're bringing the Twins, instead of a post-game concert, it's a post-game professional wrestling show with AEW, which is All Elite Wrestling, which should be really effing fun. I wish I could go to Minnesota for that game. I'm very excited.
Are you running the promotions for the Twins, Eric?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was really... Okay. So, also, the backstory on this, too, is the Twins actually, showed, the announcement of this, but they brought on, Jeff Jarrett, who was a very popular... I say very popular. He was a popular wrestler in the late 90s, early 2000s, had a really long career. He did a promo for the Target Field fans, cold, a month ago. And Twins fans did not care at all. But I think it's fun because I love pro wrestling. So, Brawl at the Ballpark, July 10th against the Angels. Go to it. Should be fun. The Tigers have the Athletics and then the Phillies. The Royals have one. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they had the World Cup. So they have the weird wraparound, a 3-game wraparound series against the Phillies that finishes up tomorrow. Then they go against the Mets and the Orioles in the All-Star break. But, as I did say, we have one series to predict. It is the Guardians at the Twins. Lee.
Look, the Twins are kind of the Guardians punching bag for a reason. Guardians are going to take 2 out of 3 on this one. I don't care that it's in Minnesota.
That is fair. Dan.
Guardians, as we've talked about, have a bit of a flair for scoring late, winning close ball games. Minnesota's 29th in bullpen FIP. I think this is a 2-1 series win for the Guardians.
Sam.
Oh, I think those Minnesota Twins and their all-you-can-eat promotion is going to really flip the tables. Real home field advantage there for the Twins, and I think the Twins are going to take 2 out of 3.
Dan, I do agree the Twins have the worst bullpen in baseball. However, they have the best offense in the American League. So the Guardians have the fourth best pitching staff. I'm hoping. I mean, it's hopium at this point. We'll see ties get later, but I'm going for the Twins mainly because I'm a fan. So 2 for the Guardians, 2 for the Twins. Should be fun. And then by the time we record next, it'll basically just be the All-Star break. Any closing thoughts before we go out on this somehow 2-hour and 15-minute episode?
I'll do one stat for the Tigers since we didn't talk about the Tigers and have the seasons going in June. Fun fact: since the 2022 season where they opened up the wild card, there has been one team who was 6 games back on July 4th who made the playoffs. That team was the 2024 Tigers. This team somehow still ain't dead.
They've played very good. That is we probably should have spent a little bit of time on that. They've played very good in the last 3 weeks. They're still 10 games under 500, and I think if they have one bad week is going to really cement their status as sellers, but I still don't see it. I've been on that bandwagon for 6 weeks, but they can give you hope. It's better baseball than they've been playing.
They've beaten the odds before. It's not the craziest thing in the world to happen. I personally don't think it will. I think the smart thing would be to sell at the deadline. But in order to get to 500, you have to be 10 games under 500 after being at 15 games before 500. So they are working towards something resembling a winning record.
Yep. I just think there's, like I said, I just think they're out of clock. But I'm glad you're watching good baseball again and not whatever you had to go through in May, because that would have tested a lot of people's fanship. So I think with that, we'll log off and we will talk to you guys maybe for the draft. If I'm feeling like if nobody wants to join me, I'll do that solo. If not,